Have you ever noticed how a perfectly normal room suddenly feels different when the lights go out? During the day, your bedroom is just a bedroom. But at night, that same chair starts looking like someone sitting in the corner. The jacket hanging on the door suddenly becomes a person. Every tiny sound feels louder than it should. Even though you know nothing has changed, your brain acts as if something dangerous might be hiding in the darkness. So why does this happen? Why are humans, even in the modern world with locked doors, electricity, and security cameras, still uncomfortable in the dark? Is darkness actually scary? Or is our brain simply carrying a survival instinct that is millions of years old? Imagine traveling back around 200,000 years. There were no cities, no streetlights, no flashlights, and definitely no smartphones. When the sun disappeared below the horizon, the world became almost completely black. Early humans couldn't simply switch on a light. The darkness belonged to something else. Predators like lions, leopards, hyenas, wolves, and giant snakes became much harder to detect. A single mistake could mean death. If you couldn't see what was hiding behind a tree or inside a bush, you were already at a huge disadvantage. In that world, the people who treated darkness seriously had a much better chance of surviving than those who ignored it. Evolution doesn't reward bravery. It rewards survival. Imagine hearing a rustling sound at night. There are only two possibilities. Either it's just the wind, or it's a predator waiting to attack. If you assume it's only the wind and you're wrong, your life ends. But if you assume it's dangerous and you're wrong, you simply become a little nervous for a few minutes. Over thousands of generations, natural selection favored the people whose brains expected danger whenever they couldn't clearly see their surroundings. Those cautious people survived more often, had children, and passed those instincts to future generations. Eventually, those future generations became us. This is why darkness itself isn't actually frightening. Instead, it's what darkness prevents us from doing. Humans rely more on vision than almost any other sense. Around 1/3 of our brain is involved in processing visual information. We trust our eyes more than our ears or nose. But once darkness removes our ability to see clearly, our brain suddenly loses its most important source of information. Instead of saying, "Everything is safe," it says, "I don't know what's out there." And uncertainty is one of the biggest triggers of fear. This uncertainty creates a fascinating effect inside your brain. When information is missing, your brain starts filling in the blanks. That's why shadows suddenly look like people. Clothes hanging in your room become monsters. A tree outside your window starts looking like a giant creature watching you. Psychologists call this pattern recognition. Your brain evolved to recognize shapes as quickly as possible because seeing a predator 1 second earlier could mean the difference between life and death. The problem is that this system often creates false alarms. It's much safer for your brain to mistake a tree for a tiger than to mistake a tiger for a tree. Scientists even have a special name for seeing meaningful images where none actually exist: pareidolia. It's the same reason people see faces in clouds, electrical sockets, or pieces of toast. At night, when your vision becomes unreliable, pareidolia becomes much stronger. Suddenly, ordinary objects begin looking strangely human. Darkness also changes another important system inside your body: your hearing. When vision becomes weaker, your brain automatically pays much more attention to sound. Tiny noises that you would completely ignore during the day suddenly seem incredibly loud. The air conditioner sounds unusual. The house settling makes strange cracking noises. Even your own heartbeat becomes easier to notice. Your brain isn't imagining these sounds. It is simply turning up the volume because hearing becomes more important when sight is limited. Another player enters the story here: the amygdala. This small almond-shaped structure deep inside the brain acts like an alarm system. It constantly scans for possible threats. The amygdala reacts extremely quickly, often before your conscious mind even understands what's happening. That's why you sometimes jump after hearing an unexpected noise before realizing it was just your cat or a falling object. In darkness, because information is limited, the amygdala becomes even more sensitive, preparing your body to react instantly if something dangerous appears. When the amygdala activates, your body releases stress hormones like adrenaline. Your heart beats faster. Your breathing changes. Your muscles tighten. Your pupils expand to collect as much light as possible. These reactions helped ancient humans survive predator attacks. Today, however, they can make you feel scared even when you're completely safe inside your own home. Interestingly, humans aren't born afraid of darkness itself. Babies often sleep comfortably in dark rooms. What they fear most is separation from caregivers. Fear of darkness usually develops later as children gain imagination and begin understanding that unseen dangers might exist. Stories about monsters under the bed, ghosts, or creatures hiding in closets only strengthen this association. The brain starts connecting darkness with uncertainty and uncertainty with danger. Culture has also played a huge role. Across almost every civilization in history, darkness has been associated with mystery, evil, spirits, or the unknown. Ancient myths often described monsters that came out only after sunset. Horror movies almost always place scary events at night rather than during a sunny afternoon. This repeated exposure teaches our brains to connect darkness with fear, even though statistically most people spend thousands of peaceful nights without anything unusual happening. But here's something surprising. Humans aren't actually the best night animals. Compare us with an owl. Owls can see extremely well in low light because their eyes contain many more rod cells that detect dim light. Cats have a reflective layer behind their retinas called the tapetum lucidum, allowing them to see much better at night. Wolves, foxes, and many other predators also have far superior night vision than humans. Evolution didn't design us to dominate the night. It designed us to dominate the daytime. Instead of evolving better night vision, humans developed another incredible strategy: cooperation. Early humans gathered around campfires. Fire provided warmth, light, protection from predators, and allowed groups to stay awake together after sunset. Sitting around a fire didn't just make people feel safer. It probably changed human civilization forever by creating opportunities for storytelling, planning, teaching, and strengthening social bonds. Even today, notice how much safer a dark place feels when you're with other people. Walking alone through a dark forest feels terrifying, but walking with 5 friends feels much less threatening. The environment hasn't changed. Only your perception of safety has. Your brain naturally feels more confident when surrounded by allies because that's how our ancestors survived for thousands of generations. Of course, not everyone experiences fear of darkness equally. Some people are perfectly comfortable camping alone in the wilderness, while others dislike sleeping without a small night light. Genetics, personality, childhood experiences, and previous traumatic events all influence how sensitive your brain becomes to uncertainty. People with anxiety disorders may experience this fear much more intensely because their brains already have an overactive threat detection system. The good news is that your brain is also capable of learning. Exposure gradually teaches the amygdala that darkness doesn't automatically mean danger. This is one reason why children who slowly become comfortable sleeping in dark rooms often outgrow their fear. The brain updates its predictions based on repeated safe experiences. So the next time you switch off the lights and suddenly feel that strange sense of unease, remember this: you're not reacting to darkness itself. You're reacting to millions of years of evolution. Your ancestors survived because they respected what they couldn't see. Their cautious brains became your brain. In the modern world, that instinct is rarely necessary, but it hasn't disappeared. It still whispers the same ancient message it whispered thousands of generations ago. Be careful, something could be out there. Most of the time, there isn't. But the reason that feeling exists at all is because, for most of human history, sometimes there really was.